I was excited to try my first genuine Canadian beer, but it's actually just another disappointment from Molson Coors. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and yes, today I'm taking a look at this. It is Molson Canadian Lager, and I was really amped up to just be like, yes, we're going to go and get a genuine Canadian lager. I know it's Molson, so it's Molson Coors, the big guys, the guys we're normally complaining about taking over one of our beloved craft brewers and ultimately ruining them. But I thought, you know, straight up lager is kind of their wheelhouse. It's what they do, so it might actually not be all that bad. And then I realised this is 4%, which started to raise some red flags. Reason being, this beer is normally a flat 5% when it's brewed in Canada and exported to the rest of the world. And then I found out that if it's for the Irish market, it comes in at 4%, which is interesting. I've never seen this knocking about in the UK, although it does have UK guidelines on it, so I'm sure someone somewhere is stocking it. But yeah, that made me look into it a bit further, and it turns out, as with most Molson Coors products in the UK, it's brewed in Burton-on-Trent, which isn't quite as glamorous as the mountain landscapes of Canada. But nonetheless, we'll still give it a go and see if a UK brewed Canadian lager is any good or not. I've not got very high hopes for this, I'm going to be completely honest with you, but let's get into it anyway. The bottle looks nice and authentic. We have a quick look at that. I mean, Molson Canadian, that's all you really need to know. The base beer for this, I think, has been around since the late 50s, so let's say it's pretty long in the tooth compared to most, but I doubt it's the same recipe they used back then. Let us get into this one. This might be a rapid video, forewarned, because it's not a big beer, it's probably not going to be that interesting, but we're going to do it anyway. It looks okay. Nice golden colour to it, a bit light. Some yeasty funk in that bottle. Oh, can't see Canada, or any yeast for that matter. It's definitely got a weird yeasty funk smell, but there's no yeast in the bottle, so yeah, it smells funky. Now, not as in the same way that a lot of cheaper lagers, especially those produced at Molson Coors in Burton-on-Trent, tend to when they go skunked. It's not like that. It's just got this kind of funky yeasty aroma about it. In the glass though, I mean, it is a relatively normal looking lager, a touch light. I don't know if it's a rice lager or not at this point. We'll find out soon, I'm sure. But it looks okay, it looks refreshing. It's got a bubbly white head on it. Pretty generic lager stuff, if we're honest. So, do the aromas improve? Yes, no longer got that yeasty funk. It's definitely sweet, soft, and there is actually a bit of greenery, a bit of proper bitter, grassy hop note, which to be honest is a load more than I was expecting, so good start all round. Let's just get into it, shall we? Cheers, happy non-Canadian beer. I'm confused. I'm really confused. Maybe it's because I set myself up for disappointment. And I'm not going to say that this is a great beer, but I think that might be the best beer out of that factory I've ever had. And trust me, pretty much every beer in the UK now is either made in that factory or one other one. So yeah, that's some relatively good going. It's really not bad actually. It's fresh, the malt's there, the hop's all right. I'm perplexed. This should be, it should be really, really. It really isn't. Like, I'm going to have to go into the bottle already, have a look if it gives us an ingredients list, because I am absolutely perplexed. Water, barley malt, wheat, barley unmalt, glucose syrup, hops, natural flavouring. It reads as a great concern. The glucose syrup and the natural flavouring, that suggests hop oil and all sorts of stuff, and obviously the glucose syrup in there to diminish the actual quality of the ingredients. But despite that, carbonation is good, good mouthfeel. I can taste the malt and I can taste the hops. Now, don't get me wrong, I would rather this not have any dodgy additives in and be the real deal. This was really cheap, like I think £1.75 cheap. It was obscenely priced in today's market, and it's actually alright. Like, think of other things you can buy for £1.75. I'm thinking those little French stubbies, for example. It clears those straight out the bat. Like, wow. I mean, it's better than all bad, really bad lager. Like, there are some premium European offerings made in the same factory that this is better than. And I think that's really all you need to know. It's not a great beer, and I am going to do a proper taste test on it, but to say how clearly and cheaply this has been made, they've done something right, and I feel very uneasy about saying it, but right here, right now, it is genuinely not a bad experience. Right then, top to bottom taste test time. So initially, right on the tip of the tongue, sweet, bready malt, light carbonation, and a proper bit of grassy bitter hop. It feels authentic, proper lager. It's almost, I don't want to say it, but it's what I'm thinking. It is reminding me of some German lager, which is an outstanding accolade really compared to what they normally produce. Then over the first third of the tongue, still malty, sweet, spritzy, very refreshing, completely inoffensive. There's no off tones whatsoever. The extra sweetness is no doubt because of that glucose syrup that's been added, but it doesn't feel entirely legit and authentic. But most people will not notice, like categorically, it's really not bad at all. Then on the mid palate, mid palate is where it starts to give away that it's a bit cheap and a bit naff. Don't get me wrong, the overall experience is still, for the price, bizarrely brilliant. But you do start to get a hint of that slightly synthetic, fuggy, funky hop that you get in just poor lager, basically. It's there, but it's not dominating. It is, you've got to look for it. And as I say, the telltale is there, but again, will most people notice? Especially if you're paying £1.75 for it? Probably not. Anyway, onto the back of the tongue. Cheapness continues actually, moves from the hop into a more bready, malty bit, but it doesn't feel as good or fresh as it did on the tip of the tongue. It feels much more, almost cabbagey, which is not a great thing for either malt or hops to taste like, but hops are more understandable. But yeah, slightly soggy, not quite brilliant loaf of bread kind of malt vibe on the back of the tongue. But the aftertaste, which is really not all that matters, but what you're going to be left with, what feels like an authentic bit of bitter, biting hop and some soft, sweet, biscuity malt. Like, it's simple, don't get me wrong, there's not a million flavours in here. I do wonder if this is temperature sensitive. And when I opened this, it was pretty cold. It wasn't obscene. It was in my beer fridge, not my regular fridge, so it's probably set at about 6 degrees, which is kind of normal lager temperature. But I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to cut camera, I'm going to leave this out for 10 minutes. We'll come back to it and see if it's changed. Okay, it's warmed up a bit, and let's see if my theory runs true. Is this only a good beer? Good is still, it's clearly not good, but it doesn't taste bad, which is a bit of an oxymoron. The quality clearly isn't good, but the taste is actually quite good, is kind of what I'm trying to say. But anyway, does that only run true if it's properly cold? And does it all start to fall apart now it's been sat around for a while? So let's give it a go. Damn it! Yeah, those off notes exacerbate with heat, big time. You start to lose some of the delicacies that you got that were actually quite good at the start. It's a really good, properly cold beer. It's another bang average lager from Molson Coors otherwise, which is probably to be expected, but it is interesting. It shows that in a time and a place and a condition, it is possible for a dirt cheap beer to seem like a much better one, but that time is limited. You're going to want to drink them cold and, to be honest, reasonably quickly, but be responsible with that. But you get the idea. So yeah, I can't go out and say you've got to go and buy it, but at £1.75, it's still not the worst beer out there in its price bracket. And to be honest, it's batting away things that are much better than it. For example, whilst it doesn't have a lot of the flavour or the ABV of something like Brewdog's Lost Lager, given the choice, as long as I can keep them cold, I think I'd actually rather drink this. So, food for thought there. But yeah, I think we should probably wrap it up at that. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you'll be so kind. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.